It is a huge game in the NFC East, and it's the Eagles and it's Washington. And get your popcorn ready. When's the last time we said that about Commanders and Eagles, Bloom? But get your popcorn ready this weekend. And on the Eagles side, you've got a plethora of weapons that you can use to attack the Commanders. But on the other side, they got some weapons too. Philadelphia first, Bloom. Let's talk about the Eagles.
Yeah, this is fun. This is going to be a lot of fun because the last we saw Philadelphia, they looked like a Super Bowl team. And I mean, if it was Philadelphia Buffalo after what we saw on Monday night, that sounds like a good Super Bowl, right? Philadelphia, we are seeing Jalen Hurts grow up. Yes, players can improve. And again, I said this earlier this week on another show. I'm glad that people who believed in Jalen Hurts are being rewarded in fantasy football. That's beautiful. That's justice. And can he support 4 targets again? I don't know about 4, Cease. You remember last year, like, can he support 1? Now the question is turned to, can he support 4? Because Washington's pass defense is one that we want to pick on. So after what we saw from Devontae Smith, you're trying to put him in your lineup. Of course, you're not benching A.J. Brown. You're not benching Dallas Goedert. I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas Goedert is top 5, maybe even top 3 at tight end this year, the way things are rolling. And Quez Watkins is at least on our radar as a desperation play, but A.J. Brown not exactly known for staying healthy. So Quez Watkins is someone you need to know as a player they've always liked. He's the designated deep target in this offense. That sounds like a pretty fantasy-friendly role. I'm not saying to put him in against Washington, although I wouldn't be surprised if he hits for a long touchdown again. And then you have Miles Sanders. And again, not like we have too many situations, maybe only one, Cease, I can ever remember, where a player said, don't take me in fantasy. And well, that was new, so I'm going to listen to him. We're wrong. I think it was his frustration actually showing his motivation. And now you see him distancing himself a little bit, at least in terms of touches, from Boston Scott and Kenny Gainwell. So now we don't ask, is Miles Sanders a suitable running back 2 or flex? We want to put him in. Remember, he can also hit those big plays because, again, Washington's defense is one we were going to pick on anyway. And now they're facing maybe the best offense in the NFC. Yeah, the best offense in the NFC.
Yeah, and they can punch back. That's the thing. They'll punch back with Carson Wentz. And I get so many questions about Carson Wentz. It's like, he's getting propped up by those talented receivers around him. But let's talk about it. And Jahan Dotson, he's a flex for me every week. You're going to score touchdown all the time, like in the short stuff. And wait till he debuts if Wentz can find him. Is he, well, I was going to say something, boom. I'm like, oh, Jahan Dotson may have his own activities that don't mesh with Carson Wentz. Let's just say that. But like, I hope he does, honestly, because if they can find him deep and they can unleash that deep speed, that's a next level with Jahan Dotson. So it's there. He's in flex for me every week. Of course, you love Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel there. Running back is running back for now. Brian Robinson will be back eventually, but the Commanders could stay with the Eagles for a little bit.
Maybe for a while, or maybe at least come back late. You know, certainly Carson Wentz has had really good second halves so far this year. Maybe it's Scott Turner halftime adjustments. But what's interesting about this from fact-finding, information-seeking, data point standpoint is, what have we seen from Philly's defense? Well, they let the Lions score 35, but they were up big for a lot of that game. Maybe they let up a little bit. And the Lions offense is good. Last week, they took a Vikings offense that looked pretty good against Green Bay, a good defense in their own right, in week 1, and completely frustrated them. But Kirk Cousins is not known for his Monday night performances. He's known for bad Monday night performances, not good Monday night performances. So we're still trying to triangulate Philly's defense. And it may well be that Philly's defense makes a signature performance in this one on the road, and Carson Wentz turns back into a pumpkin. But at least as we project this game, because it should be a high-scoring game, I would expect that you're going to play Curtis Samuel at this point. I hope you're not asking about him because he's got that Amon-Ra, St. Brown light role in this offense. You're probably going to play Terry McLaurin because it only takes one. And Jahan Dotson's going to be a really interesting study in touchdown regression, right? Oh, he can't keep catching this many touchdowns. Well, he's got the trust of his quarterback, and he's winning those contested catches. So why wouldn't that be something they continue to go to? He is at least a flex play. Logan Thomas is a tight end one. Again, we weren't thinking, oh yeah, Carson Wentz is going to support 4 pass catching options in fantasy leagues, but here we are. And we'll see if he can do it against the Philadelphia defense that really stepped up. Then you have Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson on the horizon. I guess we'll probably start talking about him on the waiver wire show soon. But you would expect that in this game that Gibson, it's almost like if the Eagles really put the clamps down on Wentz and a lot of these downfield receiving options are disappointing and the Eagles control this game on the road, then you may see Gibson catch 7, 8, 9 balls. So I think you're going to try to get him at least in PPR leagues. But again, want to learn about Wentz, want to learn about the Eagles. And this is the first Carson Wentz revenge game. But who's getting revenge on who, Cecil?
They're right. How does it go? I'm confused. But I'll be entertained for sure on Sunday. Moving on, your Saints, Bloom, are leaving the beautiful city, the Big Easy, to go to Carolina to face the Carolina Panthers. And the Saints side of things, I guess the Taysom Hill usage shouldn't surprise anyone, Bloom, but it's like, okay, it can work in certain packages in certain ways. All right, is that fantasy worthy? I don't know. I know I love seeing what Michael Thomas is doing. Give me more Chris Olave in this situation. Kamar's probably not going to play. It's Thursday. We're waiting for practice status reports, but there's Mark Ingram hard charging against the Panthers team, and we'll get to them in a little bit. But let's break down the Saints and see what they're going to do this week.
Yeah, and it's funny. Our beautiful city of New Orleans. By the way, there's going to be a hurricane in the Gulf next week, so we'll see. We'll see about the schedule, the recording schedule for next week. Let's enjoy this Saints game while we have it. Is Winston going to get right against Carolina? Carolina has only faced bad quarterbacks so far. Well, Jacoby Brissett looks like he might be decent, but the point is we don't know if Carolina's defense is good. I don't know if James Winston's going to be a good quarterback in this one, but there's at least potential that against a much more robust passing attack that some of Carolina's defense is exposed here. I do think Alvin Kamara is going to play. He did practice on Wednesday. It's a rib cartilage issue, which there's not really a lot of potential for damage, but there's a pain tolerance issue, and I would expect we're going to see Kamara. He's a boom bust running back too if he plays. If he doesn't, Ingram becomes a what the heck flex. You're putting Michael Thomas in. He doesn't have to face Carlton Davis this week. From Chris Olave's usage, you want to see if they try that again. He was playing ahead of Jarvis Landry, so Landry is more of a low end what the heck flex, and there's still Juwan Johnson hanging around the fringe of the fantasy tight end ones as a player that's going to be neglected with those 3 good wide receivers and Jameis Winston's penchant for throwing downfield. Saints eked out a win against Atlanta in the division, lost to Tampa Bay. This is a bitter pill to swallow how that game went. So, you hope to go 2-1 in your first 3 division games, and you especially want to turn up the temperature under Matt Rule's seat.
Yes, Matt Rule, still first coach to be fired. Let's talk about Christian McCaffrey, and that's it, Bloom.
Yeah. Well, and that should be the meeting this week, right? In the offensive game plan meeting. That should be it, right? I mean, you're certainly not putting it on Baker Mayfield, right? You're not saying, getting Baker Mayfield going. That's the key, especially against the Saints that would love to tee off on him. So maybe the New Orleans defense. I think I should have put them into run a defense this week. Man, Jacob reminded me of that. See, the CMC coefficient, it's not quite the Randy ratio. But if there's a case, especially because of how much money they have invested in him and Matt Rule trying to save his job, if there's a case to say, yeah, play this guy until he wears out. And I know fantasy players might not want to hear that. Get him 25, 27, 29 touches, 7, 8, 9 catches. He touches the ball every other play. Why would you go away from this? I know this isn't good news if you have DJ Moore, but I think you can see the clear pattern here. Baker Mayfield just can't support the value of downfield receivers for fantasy. That's just Baker Mayfield. So you hope that basically it's the defense for some mistakes from Winston. Put the rest on Christian McCaffrey's back as, again, trying to save your coach's job at this point.
You knew it was bad for DJ Moore when they got Baker Mayfield.
Well, the funny thing is that because the quarterback play has been bad, see, isn't this like Mitchell Trubisky and Ben Roethlisberger last year? Like, could it get? No, it can't get better.
Yeah.
No.
What about? No,
it's not going to get better. And I understand with DJ Moore, he's just going to be one of those unrealized potential players, maybe for his whole career, certainly for 2022.
James Robinson might be my favorite player in the league.
Yeah.
He might, because you love the fight, you love the story, you love the heart, the desire, the determination that he brings. Jaguars and Chargers is up next, and the Jacksonville could win this game. To be sure, we'll talk about Justin Herbert and his ribs issue just a little bit, but Jacksonville, James Robinson, please, Christian Kirk, and more than them just proving themselves right. Because I had said before the season, like Jacksonville's going to want to prove themselves right. They're going to utilize Christian Kirk, and well, there will be some fantasy value there. There's more because Kirk's responding, and the way that they're using him is such a fit. And Trevor Lawrence is playing better. Like Jacksonville, I don't say this often, Bloom. They've got me pretty excited right now. What about this week against the LA Chargers?
Yeah, this is the yardstick game for them, right?
Right.
How do they measure up against the Chargers? Because look, even if the Chargers find a way to miss the playoffs, we know the Chargers can play straight up with anybody in the NFL. So this is a really good test. You're not facing Indianapolis. You're not facing Washington. You're facing the Chargers. And you look at the AFC South, winning one of these games against a good team could end up being the difference. Jacksonville already showing that they can play well within the division, at least in their one divisional game. Now, you are going to have Trevor Lawrence in the short passing game. And then let me take a step back, because we do all of this offseason analysis and we take a stance. And the Giants, the Bears offenses haven't exactly blossomed, but you can see alignment here, right? Alignment with Trevor Lawrence and his strengths, and not just Trevor Lawrence and his strengths in the quick passing game, but building his confidence, building him up, and then building from that. And then the other thing, like you mentioned, Cease, is Christian Kirk. What a concept when you go out and spend $18 million a year on a guy. By the way, no one's talking about his contract looking bad now, right?
Right.
You go out and spend $18 million a year on a guy. You have a plan that fits with his strengths and fits with the strengths of the quarterback. What a concept. Doug Peterson rising that list of rational coaches who are going to get the most out of their players. Trevor Lawrence, I still think, he's a low-end quarterback too. I wouldn't be streaming him or putting him in DFS lineups because we know that Chargers defense is good. It's going to frustrate everybody. You mentioned James Robinson, and yeah, man, James Robinson. And shouldn't we have known during the Urban Meyer debacle, there was one player who was still bringing it at top intensity every week, James Robinson. So we should have known.
He's probably mad at him for it. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, right. Him or Shad Khan, if he was even paying attention to the team, watching the game. I have a team in the United States. Then you have Travis Etienne. Just what the heck flex? We're still waiting for the big play. We're still waiting for something. Haven't gotten it yet. Marvin Jones, Zay Jones, they're not exactly guys you're going to play this week. Even Evan Ingram, who with the low bar tight end, you might consider him, but Derwin James is out there. So I think that's going to be a matchup. You're going to see the Chargers. What did he do? He held Kelsey to 5 for 51 last week. We may see a pattern here where we're going to steer clear. I know that Darren Waller had a pretty good week one against them in terms of his efficiency on his catches, but Derwin James is definitely a player that can neutralize these athletic receiving tight ends. Good test for this offense, good test for this team, and good test to see if the Chargers are rational, because your franchise is a little banged up.
Franchise is banged up. He's got great hair, though. And
Always.
It goes beyond what Justin Herbert is dealing with his ribs injury. It goes beyond the god-awful training staff. I hope they don't hurt him. And I'm not even being a smart ass or a dumbass or whatever ass. Like, I'm just saying, like, they're the asses in the Chargers medical staff. Sorry, Joe, I guess. Analysis, Dr. Ass. Anyway, whatever they are, their trainers suck. So hopefully they don't hurt Herbert. But as Brandon points out in the chat room, what's up, Brandon? He says, y'all concerned about Eckler? Y'all concerned about Eckler? He's not hit the panic button yet, but his eyebrows are raised. What about your eyebrows, Sigmund? You always wear the bucket hat, so I can't see your eye. Yeah. Did you wax your brows? You still got them?
Oh, I still got them.
Okay.
I still got them. Here, we'll go with this. We'll go with this look. Hey, I'm not worried about Eckler. He's a main cog in a good offense. And if anything, this is a game to go with some short passing, right? This is a game to keep your quarterback. That's what I'm saying. And isn't that what Joe Lombardi likes to do anyway? Mr. Low A-Dot. So yeah, let's see more passing to Austin Eckler. And This is, again, one of those situations where usage through the first 2 weeks, you don't just look at the usage, you look at the result if you're trying to predict the trend. Because, yes, Sony Michel and Joshua Kelly have gotten touches in the red zone goal-to-goal situations. It hasn't gone well. So, yeah, you want to save Austin Eckler some punishment. You also, the Chargers, should be picturing yourself playing deep into the playoffs. You want to have Eckler hold up for the whole season. I think it's time to go back to him in the red zone. Is Keenan Allen going to play? We'll see. Hamstrings, tricky. I think either way, you're going to go with Mike Williams after what he did last week. This is another situation where with Justin Herbert, here's a game plan. Mike Williams is open when he's not open. That means you don't have to hold the ball, and take these big hits.
I think Mike Williams is like Plexico. Remember how Plexico,
yes.
It's like when he was covered and you threw it to him and it made it difficult, he'd catch it. But if Plexico was wide open, you hit him in the numbers, he'd drop it. And don't you get that same vibe from Mike Williams?
Yeah.
Where it's like he's wide open, what a play, and then he drops it. And then if you throw it to him, it's contested, he's going to make it every time.
Right. If it's a high degree of difficulty, he's going to definitely catch it. And if it's a play where he has to risk getting hurt to catch it, he's definitely going to catch it. So, yeah, you're going to play Mike Williams. And Josh Palmer, if Keenan Allen's out, what the heck flex, even though he did get that garbage time touchdown for you. We're going to see if Donald Parham's back. You probably stick with Gerald Everett just because of what he's done the first 2 weeks. But if Parham is back, it's just something to watch here as a data point. And again, with the Chargers, here's one way the season could go awry. If your quarterback has to miss a good part of the season because he's hurt. And much like Joe Burrow, you're going to need to protect Justin Herbert from himself. Now, they, unlike the Bengals, a lot of these offensive line moves and picks they've been making are working out. Zion Johnson looks great, Corey Linsley. So they have some really good players, the foundation of that line. But they also, again, you want to see if Joe Lombardi, his natural penchant for that short passing game plan, gets Austin Eckler going, keeps Justin Herbert out of harm's way.
Out of harm's way. Well, let's talk about Arizona and the Rams up next. I know there's some sort of transition that I should have been better at, Bloom, but it's Vance Joseph. He's throwing me off because, listen, the Rams assets we already know, and with Allen Robinson, it's been working, and obviously Cooper Kupp, it's working all the time, and Higbee would do his thing, and Stafford, his elbow doesn't fall off. But those backs, I'm starting those backs. When am I ever starting Rams backs? Never. Oh, they're playing Vance
Cardinals
defense. Yeah, everything will work. Memo to Rams fans. Everything will work against Arizona on Sunday.
Yeah, that's what I would expect too. And when I'm setting my lineup, that's what I would be thinking here. Matthew Stafford looks like a pretty solid quarterback one this week. Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson are both, I don't want to say what the heck flexes. They're flex plays or even running back twos in a pinch. And you saw Akers get more touches than Henderson. Henderson get the touchdown, but this could be one of those situations where the scale is going to start to tip back towards Akers, and Akers looks pretty good. Stick with Allen Robinson, even Tyler Higbee. Like, you just don't argue with this when you see the amount of targets he's gotten. I think this is just without Van Jefferson. See, it's always somebody, right? We used to be Gerald Everett, and then it became Van Jefferson. There's not anybody obstructing him from being number 2 ahead of Allen Robinson in targets in this offense right now. And again, like you said, it's Arizona. We are going to keep erring on the side of starting players against Arizona until it backfires. And the only thing that made it backfire, if it did at all last week, was just Byron Murphy on doing a great job with Devontae Adams. I'm guessing he's going to be on. Well, Byron Murphy moves inside in the slot on passing downs. So you're still going to play Cooper Kupp. That where Byron Murphy is could determine who has the big game here between Kupp and Robinson, but things are easy enough for this offense against this defense. Again, just play your Rams if you got them.
Yeah, and when Kupp doesn't have a big game, it's like 8 for 80 and a touchdown.
Right.
So, Kupp may have a down week, everyone. Only 25 fantasy points. So there you go. Cardinals side chat room saying it's Muzza Geek. Hey, Muzza Geek, what's up? Should I be worried about Kyler again this week? Well, we're going to have to play some catch-up football. And we've got the James Conner thing. They're like, it's totally not a big deal, although the injury seal has been broken with James Conner. So here we go. Get your Benjamin shares ready. Is he my sleeper of the week? I haven't said sleeper yet, Bloom. We're 20 minutes in. I apologize.
You did say ass like 7 times.
I did. Yes. It's not brought to you by ass. It's brought to you by Sleeper. So get the best fantasy app in existence. It is Sleeper. The worry level for Muzza Geek, for you, Bloom, about Kyler Murray and this Cardinals offense.
I'm not worried. I mean, he's going to get hurt at some point and slow down or miss time just because that's Kyler Murray. But you did see them, I think, come out of the slump in game 2. And remember, at the end of this game, we're going to be halfway through the DeAndre Hopkins suspension, right? So it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. I think you knew that Kyler Murray was going to underperform. You didn't necessarily know this whole team was going to underperform until DeAndre Hopkins was back. Is the Rams defense good? When they face the Buffalo Bills in week 1, we're not going to hold that against any defense. And they were pretty good against Atlanta. The bend but don't break kind of, and then they almost broke. And Jalen Ramsey got that interception in the end zone. So I think Kyler Murray is going to be fine. And I think you got to play Zach Ertz, who looks healthy now. You got to play Hollywood Brown. And again, even Greg Dortch. Don't think we're going to see Rondale Moore. And again, I want to put it out there for folks that when Rondale Moore is healthy, that doesn't mean that he just gets the entire slot role back. And I wouldn't be surprised if Moore gets hurt again, as Cecil reminded us. Hamstrings, these soft tissue injuries, a problem for Moore at Purdue. James Conner didn't practice on Wednesday. Like you said, Cecil, oh, we're not worried about it being a long-term thing. It's not serious. Okay, well, we know he's not going to have ankle surgery or go on IR, but it is James Conner. Once the injury seal's broken, you'll see them. How many times have we seen James Conner roll out there on the injury report and either tap out early in the game or just not look quality, good play? So
Right
now, Benjamin and Darrell Williams, the committee on the other side of this, neither of them are as attractive plays as either one of the Rams backs. If you have to dig deep, though, Benjamin may be a little better PPR play. Darrell Williams more likely to get those red zone carries. And if James Conner is playing, well, that just blows the whole thing up. I don't even think I would play Conner. I wouldn't trust Conner in this game. But yeah, we want to see, can the Cardinals put together, I'm not even asking for a good half, just a couple of good quarters, maybe like one in the first half and one in the second half, because I think that we've seen this team come out and in the first half of both games look like the worst team in the NFL.
I swear you got to get to Greeley to go hang out with Jason, dude.
Yeah, and Mike McDaniel.
There you go. That's right.
They're going to have a plaque, childhood home of Mike McDaniel.
I know, man. They should. And they should have a Mike McDaniel day at every Starbucks where every barista dresses like him. Oh, wait, they already do. And I love Mike. I love Mike to death. Anyway, let's the most boring game of all. Of all of the part 2 of the week 3 preview here on the Audible, it's Atlanta and Seattle. I guess maybe it'd be a little bit more interesting if we were closer to Desmond Ridder. I don't know if that's the case necessarily, Bloom. Like, how's the touches in the Falcons backfield going to go? I have so many other better matchups. So not only is this a boring game, especially in this segment, like when we have all these nice, interesting games, but there's also just not a lot of fantasy intrigue. What, are they going to ever use Kyle Pitts?
Yeah,
is that the biggest fantasy intrigue here? Like, seriously, let's talk Falcons and Seahawks with Atlanta going first.
I actually think there is a lot of fantasy intrigue in this game just because it's a poor enough matchup in terms of the defenses that you can start to picture something getting going in these offenses that have been disappointing so far. So if we look on the Atlanta side, Marcus Mariota is an interesting streamer, although at the same time, he's, like you said, depending on how this game's going, we might see Ridder in the second half. I mean, I'm not saying Ridder's going to take over in week 4. I'm just saying we'll see. Now, is Seattle going to run away and hide from Atlanta? I doubt it. All right. But I do think Ridder, as people have been asking me this question a lot this week, which of the rookie quarterbacks are we going to see first? I think Ridder is probably your favorite there because it's mostly based on falling out of the playoff race, and Atlanta will probably be the first out of Atlanta and Pittsburgh and Tennessee. And we're not even talking about Sam Howell, right? It is a Kyle Pitts game. And John Daigle, who's always brilliant and awesome and a true professional, was on the couch this week, and he just broke down how, look, this is what they've been doing. They're asking Kyle Pitts to beat the best cover man on the other side, and he's not there yet. That's partially why Drake London has been a good play and why Drake London should stay in your lineup. Now, who's the best cover man on the Seattle side? Tariq Woolen, you can run fast.
Well, Tariq's 6'4", he runs 4.2. He just doesn't know what he's doing.
It sounds right. Like, it sounds right to put him on Kyle Pitts. Yeah, I think this is your Kyle Pitts breakout game. Don't trade Kyle Pitts before this week. It could be a breakout game for him. And what did we see last year? Just teams that either didn't have the personnel or the game plan. Kyle Pitts would go off, right? This seems like a potential game for that. And this also seems like a potential game for Cordero Patterson, at least as a flex play. as he did split with Tyler Algier last week, and they were behind a lot of that game against the Rams. That might not happen this week on the road against Seattle. And if things get going with Kyle Pitts, with Marcus Mariota, that could open things up for Cordero Patterson to get a touchdown here. And Atlanta, this team, if things broke right, they could be 2-0 right now. I think, again, looking on the Desmond Ridder watch, 0-2 gets us closer there. Maybe they go in and show that they can decisively go into a place that Denver couldn't win and win.
Yeah, up there in front of the 12s. Let's go. Pete Carroll, chomp on his gum. And they are so trolling Russell Wilson. Because now the news cycle in Seattle is like, we're going to let Geno cook. And they do it like tongue in cheek. And they're like, okay, I get it. All right. I appreciate a good troll. Right now, don't go too far with it. There's a message there, Bloom. But anyway, like, okay, let Geno cook. Fine. He's still not going to throw deep. He's going to pepper everything underneath. He's going to be very efficient. I want to see Kenneth Walker like take over the backfield. Like that's the most interesting thing for me with Seattle, other than them taking shots at Russ. I want to see that rookie kick ass on the wild side and get everything for that team. Of course, never been a Rashad Penny fan, Bloom. And if I'm not a fan of a San Diego State player, something's amiss here.
Yeah. Kenneth Walker is a headline here, I think, because if you watch a few of his touches last week, there was the Wildcat touch. I can't remember who put the tape of that out there on Twitter, but he's got juice. Boy, oh boy, he has some juice. And Rashad Penny's a good player, but I think this might be one of those situations where, Cease, if it is the hot hand, that's the hand of Kenneth Walker. What the heck, flex? Sleeper of the week. But so we don't get too ahead of ourselves, but we might be talking a lot more about Kenneth Walker next week. And then you have Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. This is not necessarily a pushover defense for Atlanta. Actually, they were pretty good against the Saints for 2-3 quarters, and they tightened up against the Rams in the second half when the Rams themselves kind of emotionally checked out. They have AJ Terrell. They have a good outside corner there, but still you would think this is one of the more favorable game scripts for Metcalf and Lockett. It looks like at least one of them will be a decent PPR play with Geno Smith throwing short, accurate, not necessarily stretching the field, although DK Metcalf also almost had a ridiculous downfield catch against the Broncos. See, what is it when Geno Smith cooks? Craft dinner? A TV dinner? Do they even know what TV dinners are anymore, the kids? So yeah, let him cook, but there's not many pages in that cookbook. And yeah, this is going to be one of the least essential games to watch in the late game slate.
Yeah, it's McDonald's, McDowell's. I don't know.
Right. Just went and picked up some takeout. Yeah.
Something like that. This one much, much better. The Battle of the Bays is our next game that we're going to preview on part 2 of the week 3 preview here on the Audible. It's Green Bay and it's Tampa Bay. And the Green Bay side of things, okay, wide receiver group getting healthier, I guess. Like we're still scouring the injury report to like, okay, where's Allen Lazard at? What's Christian Watson doing? Is Aaron Rodgers going to yell at everybody? Or are they just going to let the backs do everything? If they can against Tampa, this one's on the road for Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is mad. But Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, man, let them do the heavy lifting. Aaron, go turn it on in the postseason. When regularly that team chokes, you could save it up a little bit. Turn it on in the playoffs, see what you could do, get another ring. But right now, if it was the Jones and Dillon show, Bloom, I wouldn't be shocked, but it's against Tampa Bay. So does that work this week?
Right. Exactly. Does it get them out of their comfort zone? Because, well, the running game doesn't usually get going against Tampa, although Mark Ingram was running pretty well against them. This is a really fascinating game. This is going to be a fun game to watch. And look, it could be an ugly game offensively, but both of these teams, Green Bay, at least they have a better special teams coach, right? If Green Bay could win an ugly offensive game, we might have been talking about them winning the Super Bowl last year. Yeah, they need to learn how to win these games, these street fight games, when they're going to have to win on attitude, on emotion. It is going to be Aaron Rodgers, who I actually think could be pretty good in this game because, as you said, wide receivers getting healthier. And if it is tough sledding for the running backs, I mean, don't you want to be using Aaron Jones as a receiver more than a runner anyway? And I still think you're going to stick with A.J. Dillon as at least a flex play, if not a running back too, because you know he's going to get the touches. And again, a pretty rugged running Mark Ingram was doing well last week, at least until he fumbled in the red zone. But then you can see with Alan Lazard's going to be healthier. Robert Tunyon's going to be healthier, right? The rookies, we may see them start to get up to the point where there's not a liability. They're not just frustrating Aaron Rodgers. And maybe, just maybe, we'll see David Bakhtiari play one of these weeks. You see this offensive line firm up, you know. So a lot of things trending better here. Tampa Bay's defense has really carried the team to this point, but they also haven't had to play Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers yet.
Yeah, haven't had to do that just yet. It's Tommy Brady throwing to who? No Mike Evans, suspended. He hates Marshawn Lattimore. He hates these cans. Chris Godwin, we don't know. Like, Julio Jones, we don't know. So is it a Brashad Perriman? Is Brashad Perriman the sleeper of the week, right? And in the backfield, I think earlier in the chat, we had a question about dumping Rachaad White. Okay, yeah, they still got Lenny, and he's not quite playoff Lenny, but he could get there, of course. But Tampa Bay side, it's like, okay, it's pretty thin. Things are getting thin. A little Scotty Miller week there in Tampa.
Yeah, Mike Evans suspended. Appeal denied. So you have a not 100% Julio Jones, a not 100% Russell Gage, and not quite 100% Brashad Perry. Remember, Leonard Fournette might not be 100% right now. Also, Donovan Smith is banged up their left tackle. Also, their backup left tackle, Josh Wells, out. Now they're going to be maybe down to a third string left tackle against a Green Bay defense that has quite possibly the best front seven in the league. Rashawn Gary, among others, a rising star in this defense. And by the way, their interior offensive line also decimated before the season even started. So yeah, Tom Brady well outside of a startable in one quarterback leagues. Green Bay's defense, I know they're on the road, and I know Tampa. And that's the thing. Tampa's one of those teams. Do you see Bruce Arians, by the way? What was Bruce Arians doing out there and having some sort of role in that fracas? But the point is, Tampa wants it to be a street fight. Tampa's comfortable in a street fight, right? Tampa's comfortable in when the refs aren't looking, you pull the foreign object out of your trunks, and bam, bam, bam. You know, they like that kind of game, and they're going to try to turn it into that kind of game. Green Bay not as comfortable in that kind of game. You're still going to play Leonard Fournette. Like you said, Cecil, if you have to play somebody, maybe Russell Gage. Let's watch the practice reports. If Russell Gage can get a full practice, or Julio Jones, it's like whoever gets a full practice in. Can we get? Do you have Tampa Bay wide receiver gets a full practice in on your bingo card this week? You know, that might be the guy to play. But really, I think you're just looking at a long afternoon in terms of offensive football. But doesn't that just fit back into? And look, might not be the biggest fans of Chris Berman at this point, but in a lot of ways, he shaped this sphere where we relax and talk about football, but we do it in a quote unquote professional way, right? Mm-hmm. The Bay of Pigs game. Yeah. So here it is. This one really might be an oinker.
I miss the old Mike Allstott, like boof, boof, yeah. Boof. Right. Mm-hmm. He's from
tick, 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 tick.
Right. Back. My favorite Chris Berman quote is "Leather, you're with me." You mentioned poor offensive football. If you know, you know. You mentioned poor offensive football, Bloom, and I need to get our crack sales team on it. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because my Broncos rant should be brought to you by like some sort of bourbon. I know this looks like a Moscow Mule, and I might have had about 2,000 of these Moscow Mules. There's a joke in there somewhere, Bloom. But yeah, if I had my Broncos rants were brought to you, because the episode's brought to you by Sleeper.
Blood pressure Broncos medication. Rants. You need it to be brought to you by a blood pressure medication.
But then we'd have to run the disclaimer, like, you won't have high blood pressure, but you will crap your pants.
May cause you to commit suicide. May cause you to
exactly, right.
A demon. Yeah. Alistair Crowley.
You may see demons in your sleep. So I do live next to Lockheed Martin, Bloom. You see some strange things over here.
Yeah, a lot of UFOs in Ukraine lately too.
Yeah, there you go. So watch out, everybody. What do we got to talk about? Oh God, the Broncos. So I want my Broncos rants to be sponsored. Can we get our crack sales team on that, please? Please and thank you. And I want it to be by some liquor because the Broncos are going to force me to be a heavy drinker. It's Sunday Night Football. This is the 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo, and this is really bad news for Denver. Really bad news. BA is going to go off, and not Bruce Arians. Brandon Ayuk going to go off. Deebo Samuel going to go off. George Kittle's back. Guess who's going to go off? George Kittle. Jeff Wilson going to go off. You got Jordan Mason. Is he your sleeper of the week, Bloom? He might be. Like with the 49ers. Now, Jimmy's going to throw it to the Broncos. He's going to throw it to Ron Darby because there's no Pat Surtain in this game. Okay. But Ron Darby never gets interceptions. I asked Ron when the Broncos signed him, I was like, how do you turn those PBUs into INTs? He's like, I got to catch the ball. But even back in the day in college, he never got interceptions. He's never been that guy. Jimmy's going to throw it directly to Ron Darby. Mark my words, Bloom, at least 2 times. I'm taking the over. But there will be 2 plays where he throws it directly to Darby, and Darby's going to drop it. So this Denver defense already down, arguably the best young corner in the league, in Pat Surtain. Josie Jewell's back. Who cares? George Kittle's they're going to kill him. It's going to kill him. It's going to be pretty bad for Denver. And the home crowd, who was already booing Nathaniel Hackett, who was already counting down the plays last week because they have doubled their delay of game penalties, Bloom, from all of last year in 2 games. They've doubled their delay. Somewhere Vic Fangio, that manipulative smartass, he is smiling because the Broncos probably going to stink it up this week.
Yeah, see, isn't it Super Troopers? The starts like I had the weirdest dream. Like you're actually, hey man, you're driving, and and they run into like a porta potty. Thankfully, with nobody in it, right? That's like Nathaniel Hackett on the side, like this crazy dream. Hey man, you're coaching a game. You have to call play. Right. That's Nathaniel Hackett, and I think. And this is why, again, there's the Audible, and you all love the Audible, but there's the show within the show, which is how is covering the Denver Broncos affecting our beloved Cecil Lammey? And that's going to be a really great show. I'm sorry, Cecil. I'm sorry that we have to sacrifice your sanity and your liver for the great content of the Broncos. And maybe you're affecting me too much, Cecil, because I see this game. And I think you're right. The normally primetime game is, it's our team, our community. This is our year. But I think coming into this game, the Broncos fans are going to be expecting failure. I really do. And I think if we start to see failure early in the game, it could get bad. I think this game could get out of hand because I think that the atmosphere, the psychic atmosphere that's created by a crowd affects the team. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's going to be a positive one for the Broncos. I think if they start out slow, it could get bad. So, the defense, they haven't had to face anybody yet. See, really, weeks 1 and 2 were the preseason. They were facing Geno Smith and Davis Mills. You better get it together for this game because the thing about the San Francisco offense with Jimmy Garoppolo, and again, with Brandon Ayuk, with no PS2 out there, with Deebo Samuel, with George Kittle, is if you make a mistake, then you're going to be exposed and it's going to be a big play. So I think that even Jimmy Garoppolo as a streaming quarterback, certainly as a quarterback to Superflex, if you picked him up, get some of your waiver wire buck investment out of there. Yes, Jeff Wilson, who's the clear starting running back. We're going to watch behind him with Tyrion David Price high ankle sprain. They did sign Marlon Mack from the practice squad, another Achilles story. Also, we'll see if I hope Jordan Mason at least gets a chance. I get it. Okay, 3rd round pick. Now give Jordan Mason a chance. All right, let's just see what he can do.
Hey, it didn't matter for Trey Sermon,
Right. This is true. Trey Sermon, not a special teams contributor. But again, Cease, my note at the top of this is Denver's defense ready for this? Are they ready? Because I don't think anybody on the Denver team is really ready right now.
And they practice against this offense. Like I've mentioned it in the article that I'm actually late on finishing. I'll get it done. But like they're watching a future version of themselves if they can hit. But the thing is, if Denver doesn't win this year, they don't have the money to go out and get free agents. Nobody's going to take a bargain. If you don't win, if it's not working with Russ, it doesn't make Denver a hot spot. It doesn't make Denver a destination. You are mired in mediocrity if you're the Broncos. If you don't win this year is the ad sign, right? For everybody, hey, come to Denver. That's what it is. It's kind of the beacon. It's the bat signal. It's whatever. It's like how players, when Emmanuel Sanders is meeting with Andy Reid, he gets the message from his agent that Peyton Manning wants him. He tells Andy Reid, I got the bubble guts, coach. I'm going to go back and I'm going to feel better. I'll see you guys tomorrow. He gets on a plane. He flies to Denver, signs with the Broncos. He lied to Andy Reid sitting in front of him because he got the message that Peyton Manning wanted him. Like, those type of stories won't happen unless Russell Wilson wins. And I know I'm talking big picture, but it is a Broncos show, Bloom. And yeah, I'm kind of pissed about it because this team should look better. And you got to just, if Russ was more of an aloha, Russ does put on a show, both on the field and off the field. Like, he presents himself a certain way, which is fine. That's his brand. But if Russ was a bit more of an aloha and just like waved off Hackett, Peyton would never listen to Adam Gase, ever. Like, I wish Russ would do that. I don't think Jerry Jeudy's going to play. We had that question I think it was Freddie asked it in the chat room. I'm going to go out to Broncos HQ here in a little bit. Hopefully I don't get punched in the face in the locker room. You know what's fun though is, like, I really respect guys like Melvin Gordon, because I'll be pretty hard on Melvin on the air, but every week I see him in the locker room multiple days, and he knows it's me. He will still answer questions, doesn't mean mug me, doesn't do anything dumb like Donald Stevenson wanted to kick my ass. Like, I respect that. You know what I mean? Because I'm doing my job and telling the truth about this team. I'm not state sponsored where I'm like, everything's fine, nothing's wrong. Like, there's a lot wrong. So, okay, if San Francisco gets up in this, Russ is going to cook with Sutton. There is a package of plays from Montreal, Washington. KJ Hamler should play. Jerry Jeudy probably won't. That's just a guess right now. Again, I'll be out there in a matter of like 45 minutes. So we'll see. But Javonte Melvin, I just want him to run the ball. I don't even care at this point.
Yeah.
I'm the president of the Javonte Williams fan club. And if they give Melvin 25 carries, I don't care. Just anything to get this thing on track. And I don't know. Nathaniel Hackett is trying to like prove he whipped out 3 trick plays and none of them worked against the flipping Texans.
The Texans. Yeah, against the Texans.
So against the 49ers, and Kyle won't do this on purpose, and Mike won't tell him. But this team dropped the ball so much when Mike Shanahan was unceremoniously relieved of his duties after he had a lifetime contract with Mr. Bolin, by the way. This should have went from Mike Shanahan to Kyle Shanahan. Would have never went through all this crap, garbage, bogus stuff. But when you have a pretend owner and not a real owner in place, this is what happens. And because of that, I'm sure Kyle will, they're up by 35. Kyle might still be going for it for dad. You know what I mean? And I love Mike. I love Mike dearly. Incredible, incredible mind for football. But yeah, Kyle's going to put it to him, man. And it could be pretty ugly for Denver's side.
Yeah, it could be. See, it's a podcast idea. Let's line up interviews where you interview every player who wanted to kick your ass.
On Zoom, I hope.
Yeah. No, see, it becomes more interesting when you're in the same room.
Okay.
That's what makes it good content. And like you said, Cease, is the resourcefulness there, is the clarity there, whether it's Russell Wilson, whether it's Nathaniel Hackett, to say what this team needs right now is like 40 rushing attempts between Gordon and Williams. Here's a way to not expose your defense. Keep them on the sidelines.
Yes.
And I know that we bemoan Stephen Jones saying a good offensive coordinator gets you the 3rd and short. No, but maybe in this game, Javonte Williams running the ball way he is, you don't often get to 3rd and short. He's got the first down, right? And this includes short passing to Javonte Williams, right? This should be a Javonte Williams showcase and breakout game. And Melvin Gordon, again, how funny is it? The football gods playing a joke on us that the answer for the Russell Wilson team is for Russell Wilson to hand the ball off and throw short. But part of that is Travarius Ward. Do you remember what Travarius Ward did against Stephon Diggs in that most amazing game? Part of the reason Gabe Davis is in the record books is because of what Travarius Ward did against Stephon Diggs. Remember, Ward almost went out in that game. I think if he'd gone out, we'd be talking about maybe Buffalo Bills finally winning a Super Bowl. Travarius Ward is going to be matched up with Cortland Sutton. Yeah, I'm not saying to bench Cortland Sutton, by the way. I'm just saying that that's not going to be something that consistently works. All right. And that's it. I mean, that's the only hope, right? Tyree Cleveland, Kendall Hinton, Albert Okwuegbunam. I can still never say it.
You got it
My,
right. You got it right.
My point is just that like none of these supporting cast guys are going to get it done. And San Francisco, remember, they got Nick Bosa. This is rough. And see, you keep talking about Russell Wilson as an aloha, and I wonder, like, does Russell Wilson get angry when the team loses?
I will say this, and you can't reveal too much from what you've seen at practice, but remember how I talked about how publicly he'll prop up Jerry Jeudy? Because I always get it's me being aloha bloom. Remember what I was like? Are you threatening me? Are you questioning me? Like, when it's, how do you know Sutton's his favorite? Because he talks about Jeudy a lot. Yeah, but on the field, you know what he does to Jeudy? He gets in his kitchen. Yeah. So does he get angry? I've seen him. Hell, he's been angry at me. So he's
the first guest on the show. He's the first guest.
Yeah, exactly.
Easiest one to book because you cover the team.
Right. So yeah, he does get angry. Yeah, he does.
And I mean, I think that what's appropriate, because I don't think it's Nathaniel Hackett, right? Teams take on the personality of their coach and their quarterback. Broncos.
Yeah.
But Russell Wilson, it's accountability, right? There needs to be accountability. So I think we're going to learn a lot about where this team is psychologically, where this team is emotionally, because you beat the Texans, but it was about the ugliest win you could imagine. And you're going to be on national TV and you're going to be in front of a bunch of fans that so much was built up this offseason about this team. And the San Francisco-Denver Super Bowl, not very good memories for Broncos fans. We'll see if they can create some better ones Sunday night.
Are you saying it's going to be 55-10?
Not quite. Maybe, but with the Shanahan revenge game, I
don't know. Just saying. Let's go to Monday Night Football. Thank God there's only one Monday night game. 2 Monday night games is dumb. Like, sorry. And neither
especially
one
when
of
they
them
overlap with each other.
Yeah. Come on. I'm trying to watch football and enjoy myself and not try to channel surf. But anyway, it is Dallas and it is the Giants. Break up the Cowboys, huh?
Yeah.
Now with more Michael Gallup.
Right.
Okay. Cooper Rush. Okay. Maybe a little more Tony Pollard. It's always nice. Bloom. We're watching the health status of Dalton Schultz. Waiting for the injury report today, Bloom. But Gallup, the plan was to have Gallup back this week. Gallup's going to be back this week. So what does that mean for Cooper Rush-led Dallas Cowboys? And this one against the Giants, this one's actually more interesting. This will be a better game than the Sunday night game.
And the Thursday night game. Yes. Well, I mean, the Sunday night game will be entertaining and interesting and revealing. It might not be competitive. Yeah, agonizing even. Provocative. And again, NFL product. Thursday night Island game. Mitchell Trubisky against Jacoby Brissett. Monday night Island game, Daniel Jones against Cooper Rush. So not exactly offensive, shootout kind of environments. You do see that Cooper Rush has leveled off this team after the emotional shock of losing Dak Prescott. You saw the defense also pick up this team. I think this is going to be, who understands to run their offense through the backfield other than the Green Bay Packers and the Cleveland Browns, that what Denver should be doing? The Cowboys. Cowboys understand that. This could be a great Ezekiel Elliott game, or at least an Ezekiel Elliott game where they try to get him into a rhythm, because sometimes there really is something to the idea of maybe the first 13 carries only go for 40 yards. But the next 5 go for 40 yards, right? And then the next one after that goes for 40 yards because you're just tired of it and you're tired of chasing Tony Pollard. In the passing game, it's complicated. It's complicated because you have Cooper Rush, you have a smaller passing pie to begin with. Michael Gallup could be back. You have CeeDee Lamb. You have Noah Brown, who seems to be his favorite receiver. I translate all that as none of them are a truly safe play. Obviously, it's CeeDee Lamb if you're going to go with any of them, but don't be surprised. The one thing that might lift one of these wide receivers is Dalton Schultz, likely to be out, not a serious injury, but also deep dynasty, tight end premium. I love my tight end premium dynasty leagues. Jake Ferguson here. Remember, Dalton Schultz signed a franchise tag this year, but not under contract for next year. And Peyton Hendershot, it's an awesome name. I think he's out of Indiana, athletic tight end. And he made the 53, and sees anytime you see these players make the 53 that they don't have any immediate plans for, or maybe they didn't expect them to make the team, they see something. And with Hendershot, if they see something, it's probably more on the receiving side of things. So we're going to watch the Eagles against Washington. It isn't interesting, too, that NFC East has 2 divisional matchups. So the team that wins this game is going to be in the mix. If it's the Giants, it's going to be a 3-0 Giants team, huh?
I like it. Dave, I think Dave changed his avatar here on YouTube. Dave, where's your flowing locks, your flowing hair? He says, you think Cowboys has more upside than the Niners defense this week?
Probably just because I think Daniel Jones is more prone to turnovers if the game script goes against him, and you have Micah Parsons and you have the gambling Cowboy secondary. But I think they're both good plays this week, and I would endorse both of them.
Okay, let's talk about the Giants and break up those Giants. Who's holding on to Kadarius Toney? Odds Bodkin. That's our guy in the chat room. Holding on to Kadarius Toney with diamond hands. So, all right, Giants, Saquon, more Saquon, and then obviously they're not going to use Kenny Golladay. Like they're just using their guys. Okay, David Sills, I guess. I don't know. Let's talk about the Giants, and yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing the Giants win this one.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that at all because Brian Daboll has got this team's attention at least. He's making something out of nothing. Daniel Jones is probably going to be running for his life in this game. He's been under a lot of pressure already, and the Cowboys major in getting pressure on the quarterback. You are going to start Saquon Barkley. You know he's getting that true feature back load, and it only takes one play where he gets loose here, although we could also see him get corralled in the backfield a lot. We get to the passing game. It is the Richie James, Sterling Shepard, low ceiling PPR play, pass offense. Again, it's the Cowboys, so you're not going to see a lot of downfield passing developing. Ask Joe Burrow, okay? Even ask Tom Brady, as the Cowboys defense has not been at all the weakness, especially not the pass rush. We'll see if Kadarius Toney, Kenny Golladay get back into the circle of trust, or at least more trust from the coaches, more plays, more involvement. So yeah, I think that the intrigue within the division standings is interesting here. It's not going to be good offensive football, but I do look forward to people getting a chance to watch Micah Parsons, who sees by the end of the year, he could really be ready to take the torch from Aaron Donald as the defensive superstar in the NFL.
Yes, and then we'll see what happens after that. It is the Audible Week 3 preview part 2. He's Sigmund Bloom. I'm Cecil Lammey, and I know you've been waiting for it. So let's cue the intro because it is time for our ever popular Sleeper of the Week.
It's time for the Sleeper of the Week, powered by Sleeper.
Well, if you've listened to the show, and I certainly hope you have, Bloom, it's Kenneth Walker. It might be Kenneth Gainwell. I was thinking about going with a double Kenneth, sleeper of the week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Brought to
Kenny
you by
versus
Sleeper
Kenny.
Twice. Ken versus Ken. It's Gainwell versus Walker. I prefer Walker. He's my number one back in this draft class. And I love his game. I hope he takes over in the Seattle backfield, and there's not much else to root for in that game other than looking at what's going on with Kenneth Walker. So Kenneth Walker is my sleeper of the week. Bloom, who's yours?
The sleeper of the week is Treylon Burks. And I think that this is a player, they have to get something going in the passing game. I think he's the only player who offers that. I think you've seen them getting him involved early in games, but it hasn't really persisted. I think Las Vegas is the opponent. This is a gut check game, a game that could see them get back into first place or close to first place if they can just win a game. But also our ever popular What the Heck Flex picks this week. You mentioned one of them, Kenneth Walker. Raheem Mostert, is he What the Heck Flex? I think he should be in your lineup. It's just a reminder. Cam Akers, we talked about. Dameon Pierce should get a positive game script against Chicago. Justice Hill, let's watch and see if J.K. Dobbins isn't ready. Maybe Justice Hill will be wide receiver wise. I'm watching out for Alan Lazard. Maybe it'll be a breakdown against that Tampa Bay secondary. He's getting healthier. Darnell Mooney. I know that we drafted him to be our wide receiver 3 flex. To call him a what the heck flex at this point just shows how far he's fallen. But again, it's that game against Houston. Maybe some things might start working for that Chicago passing game. KJ Osborne, it's now or never against that Lions defense. Nico Collins. We have a game where these teams are bad, like Chicago and Houston. It means, hey, there might be some potential for players to get going, like Nico Collins, downfield passing. Brashad Perryman, we talked about, who's the healthiest Tampa Bay receiver. It's kind of a placeholder. Greg Dortch. Don't think we're going to see Rondale Moore. So we carry on. And the only thing I'm sad about is that we won't get to talk after the Denver game until Tuesday morning. So that rant brought to you by Hennessy is going to be a little bit late.
Yeah, and just a programming note, I'm not sure if we'll do a recap show on Sunday. I am a featured artist at a comic book show. So I will be there during the day. If I can break away before the Broncos game, I do Broncos pregame at 5:15 Mountain. So just a programming note for our loyal audience, and we appreciate you. If we don't do a recap show, please don't hold it against us. And if we do Bloom, if we do a recap show, it'll be the early games, and please don't chirp us. Where's the rest of the games? Like
they don't.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what they call featured artists? It's like a term of art. Fartist.
Okay, well, I'll
try to Lammey, you're a fartist for the comic book show.
I will try to keep it down. So anyway, we'll see. It's kind of a little touch and go right now. I know, Bloom, you've been like, what do you want? I'm like, I don't know. So
the important thing is, for those of you in the Denver metro area, tell them where the comic book show is going to be so they can come out and shake your hand.
Yeah, come on out and see me. The All Seas Collector Show. I'll be tweeting about it. So check it out there and Facebook and all that kind of good stuff and Instagram. So he's Sigmund Bloom. You follow him at Sigmund Bloom. I am at Cecil Lammey. The show is at the Audible. We appreciate you all. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.